Hey, 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 what is going on, the CoD Pod fam? This is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder. We have MrSneaky joining us again for this episode 3 weeks edition. We have a full plate to get into. We're pretty excited about this episode. Quite a bit to talk about for, again, what's been happening so far in CoD. Some biggish announcements. We got some nice topics for you guys as well. And again, man, before we get into everything, Sneak, how have you been, man? How has been the past week and a half?
Yeah, man, it's been good. It's been very good. Been busy. I've been checking out through the new servers. Been seeing into server 21 as well as, you know, participating in the past war. I think you've been covering it, right? The big super server war that happened between TA, POS, and then Forbidden and then T45. So it's been a fun, exciting week for me anyway, in Call of Dragons terms.
Oh, man, no, 100%. It's been, man, yeah. I mean, geez, just on that note, it has been wild to see just kind of, how things have been playing out there in that kingdom. And now what seems to be, a little bit more of a standstill, if you will. It doesn't really seem like there's a lot going on in SS1-1. And, obviously we'll have to see how things get a little bit closer. I mean, what, TA Cap Dragon, right? So it's pretty much them. God, NT45, I think Forbidden got pushed back. So what, it's them. FX is there, or FUX is there, and oh God, what's the other name? Why am I forgetting? GRZ's in there though
Weird.
too.
Yeah, so it's weird. So when you look at it, I've kind of done like a recent video, and I've got some footage of what's been kind of going on. So like, basically what happened was like everyone kind of like pushed everyone out in regards to Zone 3. So like Zone 3 only has like TA and like I think POS realistically inside it, and then you go to the east, I think it is, and then you start seeing a little bit of NT45, but for some reason NT45 went all the way up to the north where GRZ are, and they're having this like weird war in the Zone 1, should I say. So it's a really weird dynamic what's happened, but it's been funny to watch it. I've been just like say recording as it's been slowly progressing over a few like days it's been so far. Yeah, you are right. It's been quieter now for us in Zone 3 in general. It's been pretty quiet. Zero FX, like they're just basically another POS alliance, just their other alliance to go into for war. So I don't even know what's happening with UNC. I ain't even seen them. I don't even know what's been like going on. But yeah, it's been a pretty easy ride now. I think you are right in the last 2 weeks, if you want to call it now, of the season. It's going to be pretty much like I would say farm simulator almost. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, no, for sure. So hopefully, maybe I'm able to give you guys a visual here in a sec once I get my stuff loaded, which I probably should have already had loaded before we started. But with that in mind, let's segue from that to now touching on something that and again, I don't know if maybe you want to get to this first before we get to some of the other topics, because I mean honestly the biggest news that has come out so far within what, a day or two ago, has been the kind of subtle migration slip
Yeah.
slash announcement from the COD CS mod on the help channel within the COD Discord.
Yeah, I wonder how they're gonna do it. I've seen your video on it, and I'm as curious as you are on it because it's gonna be weird for imagine like anyone, I'd say in my server, able to migrate out into like one of the newer ones. It's gonna be a bit insane. So
Yeah.
there must be some sort of limitation you're gonna put on. So I think anyone who's in like the Super Server 1, I think is like isolated. I think you're all like literally well, we are all the baby animals, like we're the first of the first, so we'll stay like that. But maybe everyone in like, if you look at like servers 5 upwards, maybe before merge, say like they announce a merge date, they go, okay, this is the day
Mm-hmm.
all the kingdoms are merging. If you want to go and play with your friends that are, on a different kingdom because you've, started at different times, but you're almost equal power now, then, there you go. You can migrate to their kingdom so you can play with your friends, and then the merge maybe happens after. Maybe I could see something like that, but I'm just as curious as you. What about you? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, it. I very much think so. When I think about where migration is going, and I look at how was migration in Rock, how was it in IK, and then what's the opportunity here? Because the thing is, they don't have migration yet. So the way I kind of view it is that this is a maybe nice place to start out from, right? It's kind of a fresh landscape because they haven't really done anything yet, and they can kind of play migration more into how is CoD, right? What's CoD's system? What's CoD's mechanics? And to me, I think that lends some opportunity for how they can build a migration system out. I think one of the things I said in the video is I think no matter if they if they implement some type of Imperium or like high cap restriction on certain players that can join or certain power levels, I truly believe that the way that really all kind of kingdom builders should work is that kingdoms themselves should have the right to accept or decline people. Like everyone has to apply essentially, just like you would do it if you're a country, right? If you're applying for citizenship somewhere, there's a process you have to go through. I like to think that more of that level of control should really be in the hands of the kingdom, right? Like where players can't just come in. Everyone has to apply, and therefore everyone has to be accepted or rejected, right? Depending on who is king, or obviously that's probably the easiest way to do it, and have some type of gatekeeping system that is in place. And then obviously if you add on anything beyond that, then that's fine. But the thing is that if you have a pure gatekeeping system where everyone has to apply, then you can almost simplify it where you don't necessarily need to have power caps, right? Because anyone can apply, and then it could just be based on as far as internal power caps. Like you might have external caps that the system applies, where it may say, well, right, like an example of the Imperium, right? Maybe you can only bring on one person that's 100 mil plus a month, as an example, right? Or you can only bring on, maybe you can only have players that are under 25 mil for the first season, and then it goes up another 25 seconds, like whatever it is, right? Whatever they decide. I mean, that's the thing to really think about. However, beyond that, my thing is that they just need to they need to make it so kingdoms have more control and more autonomy in building their kingdom. Because to me, that's something that most kingdom builders don't have. Like, they have a little bit, but not enough to really say, like, man, I'm really in charge of building every piece and facet of what this kingdom can do, right, from a management standpoint once you kind of get king. And who knows if they're going to add something like that in. I would imagine something like that is coming, because otherwise what are you going to do unless they have some type of external system that isn't dependent on you having a king, some types of king or queen tools, right, from capturing Flame Dragon as an example, and they just have some outside system. But I just find that highly unlikely.
Yeah, I don't know, because I was hoping maybe as you were going on, I was like imagining things, and it was like it'd be kind of cool for me if they brought out a system where, in order to like migrate, it was like an actual like process that you earned the right to do, if that makes sense. So, like, imagine, for example, like I was saying, like for the first one. So imagine everyone's done this first season, and then season 2 commences, and everyone or any server that's in that process, right? Imagine you're able to migrate into another server because you completed server 1, so you hit like the first migration requirement almost, right? And then maybe like down the line they say, if you're gonna migrate to another server, you might need to complete 2 full seasons in that server, right? And then I was then when you started going on and about like all the requirements and stuff, I was like, well, they could even take it a step further, because if they did implement almost like a king thing, so maybe season 2, the final layer does give you some sort of like, not king buff, but you could say some sort of like territory buff, right, for the kingdom. But imagine if you had that and you could set like a power ranking, so like only so much power could join, so you could try to kind of control your own kingdom's power. But imagine you could also set like a requirement as, say, so as the seasonal rules rewards are set, there's 3 rewards, right? So you have anointed at the top, and then you have the second one, and then the third one, right? And you only get the top one if you've completed the flame dragon, and you get the second one if you've got 2 magma demons, and then the third one if you've got, I think, only like 1 magma demon, right, or something like that. So like you could even set it so like you could say, okay, then I want people that say like 10 million power, you have to have at least 10 million power to apply, and you need to have beaten or been in an alliance that completed 2 magma demons, right? Because then that's like making your kingdom set almost like an experience requirement from participating in those seasons that you've played. And if you played correctly and you've earned the right to migrate, you should be able to, right? So I was hoping maybe something like that. I don't know how they're going to do, obviously the power might be pages like they always do so far that I've seen, but it'd be cool if they did implement some sort of like, earn the right to, because I hate the fact that some people can just like migrate into a kingdom and then play 1 season there, and then technically migrate to another kingdom and play 1 season there,
yeah.
Migrate. Like, it's just kind of like, it loses, you kind of like lose that bit of social aspect and kind of like, I always say like loyalty almost,
yeah. Like, oh, hey, I got this for you. What if each person that migrated had a like migration card or migration stats that came along with that? So when they, so like as an example, if you take the suggestion I mentioned in the beginning where everyone has to apply, it's almost like you get to see their history. Right, like their migration history. So it would show you what kingdom they started in, how long were they there, what kingdom did they, and then which kingdoms have they migrated to, and how long did they stay there, right? Yeah, and then maybe if it showed the stats that you had before you joined that kingdom, right? So it could say something like,
cool if it showed the minimum kills in a season and the highest kills in the season, because then it would also show. Technically, if you're super active in, when you first maybe left, and then you've been jumping around and basically farming away to find a cool kingdom, but like you can reflectively see that if you're not, if your last 3 are really low, right? It would show you in this, like your lowest kills are here. Like, why are your lowest kills are here, right?
Yeah.
So that'd be cool. Yeah, I kind of like that. Like,
yeah, man.
ID card.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's like a resume, right? Or it's like your history, and I think that's something that it's actually an idea I've had for Rock for a while, right? Like, I don't know if you remember this in Rock. I forget how long you said you played, but Rock had this thing that they tested. It was almost like a pilot program, and they tested it for maybe a month or 2. And what it was, it came out in one of the updates where anyone that migrated to a kingdom, everyone in that kingdom would get a system announcement, basically notifying every, and it was only out for a short period of time, but they notified everyone in the kingdom that, hey, this new player just joined the kingdom, and it allowed for everyone to essentially click on their name, view their profile, send them a mail, or send them a DM, right?
Yeah, I want that part.
And so this is the thing. This is the thing about that. I loved that idea, but it was the way that they implemented it that was wrong, right? The way that I would have loved for them to implement it, and I still think it's a great idea, is where instead of giving everyone in the kingdom a system announce, only the king can see, right? So only the king can see who joins, and this is the thing. The king or queen should also be able to see who leaves. What about that? So you see all the incoming migrants, and you see all the people that leave. That, to me, is what I'm talking about when I was saying earlier about kingdoms having more anonymity, having more control over how they manage a kingdom, right? We have to start thinking about kingdom builders in the same way that we would think of you starting up your own country in the real world, right? Like those types of management aspects. And I'm not saying you have to introduce everything all at once, but do it in periods. And something like this would be great. Another example of something that I would love to see in Kingdoms is showing how many active online users, how many active players logged in within a 24-hour period, to show you total activity versus total players in your kingdom, right? So it would show you, here's the total players in the kingdom. Here's the ones that have at least logged in one time within the past 24 hours. Here's the people that have logged in one time in the past 3 days. And here's everyone who logged in one time in the past week. Like just those stats. And then every day it'll just generate you a report, right? Like the system will automatically generate you a report for the king. And then that's just one example of something, right? Because that adds so much value when you're looking to sell your kingdom or promote your kingdom from a migration standpoint to try and get people over. You can also work that into things like king mails, right? Where you can almost have that be a newsletter for kingdoms and a way to kind of motivate and integrate more participation, more engagement with players. Like those are the types of things that I would love to see them add in, obviously over a period of time, but not to, have me dive too deep down the rabbit hole because I could go for days. On the migration aspect specifically, yeah, I agree with you on that. I think hopefully it's something that they will allow, right? They'll do it because this is the thing. If you look at, because the number one thing, right, and this always happens in early games. The number one thing is, how do you avoid super kingdoms basically going unchecked, right? Yeah. And sure, we like the idea of it. Like who wouldn't like the idea of not having? Because like when Rock started out, they had no migration restrictions. It was just, hey, you guys can migrate wherever you want. And then you had kingdoms like the one I was in, 1196. You had 1093, which was Billy's kingdom for Misfits. There was 1254. White Dragons. I think it was White Dragons had their own kingdom. White Tigers had their own kingdom at one point, and a few others that basically just developed into super kingdoms because all they did was just mass recruit players to come in and migrate because there was no restrictions. And then obviously they eventually had to implement Imperium. They came out with the Imperium status, right, to limit what you could do. But, and this is the thing, I don't necessarily know if the
Army doesn't like. Army, I'm just saying.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
Doesn't like, I kind of hated that because if you think about it,
what, Imperium? Like, you hated Imperium?
Yeah, no, I hate the restriction on it. If you think about it, that type of ideology was almost like the social hierarchy, right? So you had these super kingdoms, and everyone knew of the super kingdoms. And you might have been like, oh yeah, the super kingdoms like left unchecked, but it wasn't like that though, because the other super kingdoms were against the other super kingdoms, right? Because that's how they were playing for the KVKs. And like, especially in like Ark of Osiris and Ark League and stuff, like they were going for blood in those, right?
Yeah.
So it was so good to see that, and it was like you had then the other servers, right, which were more like, I'd say like normal like people playing, and then you had the other servers that were like kind of like your whale spenders and stuff. And the thing is, the way they did, the original KVK format, where it was just like power versus power, would have been realistically worked if they just added almost like lifetime as well, like the kingdom lifetime to the formula.
Yeah.
Then you're matching equal power to someone who's almost within 30 days of each other. It's gonna be a close fight no matter what you put. So I hope they kind of do that with this, and like another thing before we go into another like rabbit hole on it, which when you were saying about beginning males and stuff, it'd be cool if I always think like if when they did do that, 'cause I do remember when you were saying when you got these mails when people came, I kind of first like didn't enjoy it, but at the same time I think if it's done right it could be really big, right? Because if someone's joining the server, everyone should know that this person's joined the server. It should be a big deal, right? A new person that no one knows from nowhere has just come, right? So there must be a reason behind it. So like, it'd be cool if the king, like you said, could see who's coming in and coming out. It'd be cool if all the alliances, and this is like my idea, it'd be cool if the alliance leaders, if someone joins the kingdom, if they just get literally a system mail and it's a green or red tick and it's like, do you want to alert your alliance that X, Mr. Blah 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 has joined the server, and you can hit the green, and the next minute an alliance mail goes out only to your alliance members saying, oh, this guy's joined the server, just keep an eye out, right? So something like that'd be cool, but yeah, I hope with the migration they don't limit it too much. I do want obviously some limits, but I want the freedom to have, honestly, there's some super kingdoms and some dead kingdoms, because when you do have kind of dead kingdoms, it's funny because you do get activity. You have maybe one alliance in this dead kingdom, and then you have another one alliance dead kingdom, but they're happy enough playing against each other, because sometimes their day-to-day life, maybe that's how much time they can only play, right? So
Yeah.
it's kind of like fitting for them. It's like you're kind of eliminating almost the customer base by like almost saying you can't have these type of kingdoms, because it's like, well, why not? If this person has the time of day and the money to do this, they should be able to. That's how I kind of see it out, even though like I'm not a major spender myself, I'm not a massive spender or like that. Like, I always feel like you should always give someone the ability to do it. Obviously, we're not taking it to like extremes, but as long as you can give the capabilities and have it fair, which I feel like they're doing really well so far, then it shouldn't be a problem in my eyes. I don't know about you, but that's how I feel.
Yeah, I think there's two ways to look at it. I think this game is different than Rock, because obviously in this game they do kingdom merges, right? So under that precedent, they could arguably merge any kingdoms they want. And so I think on one way of looking at it, you could make the argument to say, you know what, it's just going to be unrestricted. Players can go wherever they want to go. We're not going to put any limits on it. But then what they'll do is kind of a backup, or a way to maybe mitigate some of that could be, well, if we need to merge kingdoms or something to that degree, then we'll merge, right? And we won't merge to create super kingdoms, but we'll merge to keep a healthy amount of activity, right? That's always been my view on why they would do kingdom merges, is they're doing it so that way, you can have a healthy amount of activity, but then you're still giving the opportunity for kingdoms to, freely recruit however much they want, right? So I look at it that way, but then the other side of it is, well, if you don't necessarily want to create some type of super kingdoms type situation where, let's say you get a kingdom that, or you get a couple kingdoms that are just really, really unified, and they've done a great job of that, and they're very appealing out there to the general populace, and they end up getting a lot more players that want to migrate in there. My view on it is that if you want to build a kingdom that is so much more active than another kingdom, fantastic. However, the big difference, I think, when you're going through migration is when you add in the power factor, right? You could easily become extremely appealing to a lot of whales or a lot of high power players, and then all of a sudden it's kind of turning into Infinity Kingdom, where you have like this S38, S57 situation where basically, like the top 500 players, for, I would say, the, all intents and purposes, have congregated in these two super kingdoms, and because Infinity Kingdom doesn't have any restrictions, right? They basically just plow through KVKs like it's nothing, right? And so I also consider the level of competition, the quality of competition, to be another factor, right? You don't necessarily want, like, if you're looking at the long game, I would rather have a challenging fight between my kingdom and another in something like a KVK or in a merged kingdom scenario, instead of going into a KVK or a merged kingdom scenario where it's just not even fair and it doesn't matter what I would do. Now I'm not saying that the system has to implement hard restrictions to to that level to say, oh, well, they're going to take it into their own hands. But I do think that there has to be some form of limitations, because when I look at it from the day-to-day player experience of is the average player who's active going to enjoy going into a situation where it's almost an impossible battle, not just an uphill battle, when I look at kind of how IK has done it without any restrictions than how Rock has done it with restrictions, you have a lot more kingdoms that are closer in their top 300 individual summed up projected power for the kingdom than it is in IK. And because of that, sure, even though, they do things like killing off all their troops to go under Imperium and then they recruit a bunch of players to come back in. I mean, that's a group effort, right? Like, that's them applying a tactic, a strategy to navigate the system. But there still is a hard cap, which is they put it on the top 32 kingdoms. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily what you would do in CoD. However, I don't see it as the worst thing. I just think something has to be there, because then you'll get better longevity out of the fights. Also, because the fighting is so much different in CoD. I mean, it really is at a higher level compared to other kingdom builders that we've seen. And I think that level of saying, like, there's nothing, this is the last thing I'll say, is that to me, there's nothing more skillful than you being at the same power level as another alliance, but one alliance just completely decimating the other alliance at the exact same power level. Because to me, that shows that you applied a higher level of strategy and tactics than your opponents did at the exact same power level. And that, to me, I would rather watch that than watch a 2 million alliance, crushing a 1 mil alliance. Right, or a 2 bill alliance or a 3 bill alliance crushing a 1 or 1.5 bill alliance, just simply because they have a few more players that have T5 unlocked or something to that degree, right? Like, I would rather watch the 3 bill versus 3 bill and see them go at it, and have it be very close in average median power across the players in those alliances, and then one alliance just crushes them with strategy. That to me is so much more worthwhile to see than the former or the opposite.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I think I meant, like, on the same boat. That's why I was saying I think we should allow migration to kind of like let people do what they want to do, because if you let people do what they want to do, then you're gonna have people that do like go into this one super server and they're gonna be like, okay. But then you're gonna have that other type of people that sees that super server and be like, bruh, we can do that better. So then they make their super server, right?
Yeah.
And then, like I say, and then because of that, the social dynamics and culture and community develops, and then you get the experience of what you're after, where you're gonna have multiple super servers or multiple minor servers or multiple medium servers that are like 3 million power, and able to like just have like 3v3, like, everyone's at 3 million power fight, so it's always equal. Like, I think if you do that, it makes it a lot easier. And some people might go like, yeah, but what about all the dead kingdoms? It's like, well, let the dead kingdoms play themselves. If they want to play all the dead kingdoms together, let the dead kingdoms play together. And if they really need to, like you said, you can always just merge all the dead kingdoms into one, and hopefully that makes a better medium-sized kingdom potentially, right? So, because I know we were talking about, I think we had a load of great topics, but I kind of like prefer talking about what we are talking about.
Yeah.
And it was like, the thing is, when we're talking about migration stuff, it's kind of got me thinking about like KVKs as well. Because I feel like the more you look at CoD and the way it is in Season 1, and if they made a KVK format, part of me always thinks it's going to be some sort of like light versus darkness, where you're going to have always like a 3v3 or 4v4 where everyone's light on one side and everyone's dark on the other. Because then I think by doing that, it's like if light camp captures the flame dragon in the center, then all of the flame camp, alliances or servers get the rewards for winning, right? So I think that's how they might do it. When I've been like thinking about like how the game is currently, how they're gonna try and make KVK works. Like, I think that's how I'd kind of like it like that all the time. Even if it was just like a 2v2 all the time, or like then a 3v3 and then eventually did 4v4. Like, it'd be cool. But I always feel like they're gonna have some sort of like red versus blue. That's the best way. Red versus blue.
Very, very Halo-esque of you. Got it.
Like, it's always gonna be red versus blue. That is it.
Yeah. Or Oh gosh, what's that? What's that comedy? There was like something chicken. It was called something chicken, and they I think they were called Red vs. Blue. They used to do like the sketch comedy, like Halo. They used to do Halo sketch comedy. God, I forgot. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, Rooster Teeth's Red vs. Blue, where they would do the Halo like sketches. Yeah, that was so funny.
That's how I feel, honestly. I'm not gonna lie, like when you see, I don't know about, I know you like post on Facebook yourself, and it's like when you check the Facebook community posts, some of the posts they put up there with the little like shorts and the images just does feel like Red vs. Blue territory where they're just picking at each other. I do enjoy it. It's really fun.
Let's see what they got on here. There's been. I mean, people selling accounts on here. You got projects. I love how people come over though. Like when just a brief moment, like people come over and they're saying, "Oh, Jumper Alliance," right? Yeah. And this one guy's like got a rock post. It's like, come on, man. I mean, just be relevant. be relevant.
That's the only thing. Stay classy, guys.
Yeah, like this is COD, man. This is COD, man. But yeah, and then you still got you got people either recruiting for a new kingdom. You got the TA versus Forbidden. People making memes and short videos just about the SS1-1. Oh no, I do. I love watching it. And then now we're starting to get more posts on here too as well about other kingdoms. Like someone posted here about K16. Someone DM'd me just a little before we started about K15's at war. And, I always tell people, like, look, man, I'm happy for you guys to let me know, when someone's going down. But, like I tell people, you got to let me know, either once Lightbearer is done on the Augerstone chapter or just before. If you're letting me know when you guys are on your, you guys are like Mark of Deceit or whatever on the 8th chapter, that doesn't do anything for me. I can't see anything.
Yeah, that's why I was. That's one of the things. Because I jumped into like I think like 7:15, and it's like when you jump in and they're like almost like the giant stage and Hydra stage and stuff. It's just like I can see all the way into Zone 2, but I have to scout all that myself, and I kind of hate that. So it's kind of like I need to go and see what you guys are doing, but at the same time I need to defog it all. But yeah, no, I feel you. I've been, like I say, I've been making a new account in 721, so like defogging that as it's been slowly progressing, like I've been unlocked through the Augstones a bit easier. But I do hope, I don't know, like I kind of wish there was a way for me to like almost, like just not need to fog, like almost like because I've defogged already once. Can I just pick an option to not fog and lose the rewards? Like, as a consequence, I can choose not to have the fog. You know what I mean?
Like, almost if, like, when you get to Season 2, instead of the fog coming back, maybe you could see everything maybe from the get-go, but maybe they do some type of a different, like, exploring type feature, right? Like, where you can still get all the stuff, but maybe you just have to either go like play the Where's Waldo game and actually go look for it.
Imagine if they'd made it so like everyone started out like in the zone, but in the zones where all the alliances may be. So imagine, because obviously like Civ Server 1's got all the alliances, right? So imagine like you all went into your regions, so you've got all these regions. Each region maybe has like 20 islands inside, so you can technically have like 20 alliances. But then like each of these little islands has a little like bridge you have to construct.
Yeah.
So like you keep constructing these bridges
Dude.
to technically like get further into the actual region itself, and then you just build. You know what I mean? So,
Okay.
like, you're like actually exploring as they used to do. Like, oh, there's a river. Let's build an actual bridge here. And then you build the bridge over, get over to the new area. Might be better resources and stuff.
Okay, so here it is. I have the perfect solve. Are you ready for this? This is the absolute perfect solve. You give players the choice in the beginning. You can either choose to have fog removed, but then you can't find any of the rewards and get any of the resources, or you choose to keep the fog, and then you can still go ahead and get the rewards. Bam. Yeah. Problem solved.
Yeah, that's what I was saying at first.
Yeah.
It just makes sense.
Yeah.
Just have a little option.
I love it.
Because then it's just simple. Then it's like you can not have fog, and then the consequence is you don't get any rewards, or you can have fog and then defog it yourself, put the time in, and get the rewards for doing it.
Exactly, yeah. Now, I mean, you might end up having people that just make new accounts in those situations, and they'll just use those to unfog and be able to see what they want. But technically, anyone could, at that point, arguably do it, right? So it's not like it's unfair for anyone.
Yeah, anyone can do it. And the thing is as well, like, one thing which people might keep forgetting is, like, in theory, you're only allowed supposedly one character per server, right?
Yeah.
It's not even like you can have multiple accounts on one server. So you literally would need to make 2 Google accounts and keep switching Google
Exactly.
accounts.
Yeah.
And it to be so mundane to do.
Which, on that note, I love that they did that. Like, even though you can still do it and you can still have, alts and farm accounts, I love the fact that they are. This is the thing and this is kind of goes into a broader topic, but I like that COD is really trying to differentiate itself from Rock. Like, yeah, sure, it's a kingdom builder. There's obviously going to be certain similarities, but I like how they're proactively doing things that it almost makes me feel like, you know what, they're testing these things out on purpose because they want to try and define maybe their own path in the genre.
Yeah, it made me funny as well because it was made me laugh, should I say, as well. It was funny watching one of Chisgle's latest videos when he got rallied. It was funny listening to him talk about the game, and he was saying like he'd realized somehow like in this game he's like way more active to play it, and it's like part of me is like, well, yeah. But no, because it's like, if you technically just played the same as you played Rock, it's like, you're gonna get the same out of it. That's the thing. But you're gonna have a better combat experience when you have the combat times, right? But it's like, the game does reward players that put more time in. And I don't think that's like a bad thing. It's not even saying like you have to be active. It's just saying, it's more of an option. It's like, well, look, you can do this.
Like, you can spend, or you can grind.
This and this, right? And if you do this and this and this, here's the rewards. And it's like, that's not a bad thing. That's like, that's what you want a game to be. It's like, you don't... It's like, imagine booting up World of Warcraft, right? And then it's just like, you get in, and instead of like doing all the quest lines that you need to do to level up, and then going through all the dungeons that you do to learn like basic dungeon, and then like you hit your first raid, so you get like basic raid. Imagine you just like, nah, bro. It's like you do get like the level 7 skip, and you just get to fight the final raid straight away. It's just like, it's like what? Like you're missing the whole point of the whole reasoning of like progressing, spending time,
the experience.
And the experience of playing the game. It's like it's not about like trying to like fast track somewhere and just, kind of just like play for an hour and dip or whatever. Like it's not about that. So I do like how it is differentiating itself from Rock in that regard. Because if people think Rock is like the game you can just kind of sit idly on, and COD's the game where active players have to play, then it's just like, why would you not want to play COD?
Yeah, I mean,
active players are playing.
100%. And I think for me, even I think that's a good point. My view on COD is, like as far as first and foremost, I think the thing for me that makes me want to get up and play COD every day versus any other game is, I mean, I would argue, simply put, because of the fact that they have range play. That's something that is just not to any quality or professional level in any other kingdom builder. And not only that, but where they're doing it as well as COD is. And that's just one aspect. Like, even if it was just that selling point alone, it immediately crushes every other kingdom builder for players that are looking to get, more of a true skill, kind of true RTS experience, which for me, when I first got into kingdom builders, the way that COD is doing it now was the way I had always hoped kingdom builders would eventually progress to.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is as well, it's just like, when you're talking about like the progression of them, it feels like COD's going everywhere where like you say, like you would expect one to go to, and it's like when you pitch the idea to other people, it's like a lot of them do feel like intimidated about it, and it's that. But one thing I always thought, which I don't know about you, I don't know. Well, you'll be able to actually tell me the answer because it is what I find kind of crazy. It's like when you were saying like how fun the game is because of the combat and the range, it makes you always want in to boot it up and play it and stuff. I've got to remind like just kind of like everyone in the podcast, like at the moment, Boss NASTi, you might be able to like clarify this to everyone as well. Like I might be wrong myself, but like you log in and just kind of do like your daily stuff, right? Because obviously you have a lot of projects in advance, and you're looking to obviously start a main in the future. But like if you would like compare your account to say someone like me or like Boogie or Ninja or Johnny, right? Like the guys who are technically like day out, day in grinding the game. It's like I find it so crazy that without you find it so enjoyable to watch. Do you get what I mean? Like the game's so good that you don't even need to play it. Like
I see where you're going. Yeah, I see where you're
right?
going.
Yeah, like you're not having to put 100% effort into your account. You're putting maybe like 60% in, but you're enjoying the game to the 100% fullest because you're able to see the combat how it is, and you're able to like go on like all your tangents and like theories and creativities on the combat that the game has. And then it's like you look at everyone who's playing the game, everyone who's playing the game, like myself and that, who are putting like in the wars and that, and Holton and so forth. Like you can see how much we're enjoying the game because of the amount of like fighting we're doing, right? You look at like certain players, they're already over 2-3 million merit. Like it's absolutely ridiculous how much people are fighting and enjoying it because of like the way the healing system works and the way the stamina system works, and like the way whales don't generally have like, obviously they have an edge, but like they don't have like an overall rule of thumb, like they don't just rule the field and they don't just rule the kingdom. It's just like they're in check and stuff like that. Just like I think for us makes it even more enjoyable, right, to experience. So it's so like I find it insane when you like look at it in that perspective, because like say you might be able to clarify it for me, but like I find it just like so good for like a mobile game to be able to do that. And that's a mobile game as well, like that doesn't have Ark of Osiris, right? It doesn't have any of these sort of alliance versus alliance game modes where you can watch it on a stage almost, right? The current stage is just the regions and the servers fighting in their own zones, right? So like I'd love to see like your thoughts on that, because like it is like one where it's crazy when you look at it, compared to like a lot of other games, like you said, like Rise of Kingdoms and Infinity Kingdoms, even a Lord of Rings game I've played a little bit, and Warpath. So,
all right, literally just sat right back down. Had to go check on some mysterious smell in the house, but yeah, no, Man, it's so funny you say that, because for me, it is exactly that when you consider just watching the game. And this is something I obviously I've mentioned. I mention this quite often, but when I first started playing COD, I've had the luxury, or I don't want to say luxury, but just the opportunity to want to go and watch good RTS games, so, when I go out, I used to watch StarCraft 1, Brood War, when they were playing pro matches in South Korea on their GSL and, oh God, what is it? ESL circuits that they have out there. And then obviously when StarCraft 2 came out, being able to watch that. To me, StarCraft 2 is kind of, peak RTS. Like if you're looking for pro peak RTS to watch strategies and tactics, that a lot, up there with games like Warcraft, Command and Conquer, Age of Empires, etc. Like watching these types of RTS games, I've always been a big enjoyer of, right? And so when I look at how those games play, and I look at how Kingdom Builders are, then Kingdom Builders almost kind of remind me of like people who've played like Rome Total War, right? Games like that where it's, you know, you basically have legions, if you will, like actual legions, and you're basically micromanaging them around on a large field, a large theater of war. And you can go to one side of a field on the left flank, down the center on the right flank. You can have certain units do things. You know, you can micromanage your units to come in and block. If cavalry are trying to flank, you can basically reposition your pike. I mean, it's like everything is just happening in real time. And so the way I look at Kingdom Builders is, to me, it's kind of a mix of that. It's a mix of that type of style of like Total War play, and then mixing it with like the true RTSs like StarCraft and things, because I think StarCraft is very relatable because of the fact that, you know, one of the examples I give is if you look at the Protoss race, which is like the alien race, right? They can throw bubbles down. You know, an example of that is you throwing down, your barricades, right? Of like slowing. Yeah, kind of like a slow, if you will. And then having, certain skills that you can use. That's almost like and each I think each race has like their own like on-field skills you can use. That's kind of reminiscent of artifacts, right? And or behemoths, that you're kind of throwing down these active skills that you can use. So I think there's some kind of broad similarities, but things that to me make CoD just peak. I mean, it is the pinnacle right now, and it is at the forefront of the genre. Even though Rock is arguably and still the the number one premium game, kind of at that king throne position, dude, CoD is coming for that booty, and and I'm telling you, man, CoD. If you just look at, if you stacked up CoD versus Rock right now, feature to feature, CoD is crushing. But everyone, it's not just Rock. I mean, it's crushing everyone because of how it is and how much you're now able to start exercising that true skill play that, for me, and I would imagine a lot of other players would love that opportunity to do. That's why, even if you just look at the CoD Discord on the Gen Chat, how, literally they're growing 100, 200 members a day right now. I mean, I've been seeing multiple people post, oh, hey, I'm coming over from Rock to come and check this game out. It looks amazing. I've seen people say, man, I've stopped playing Rock to come and play CoD now. And don't get me wrong, right? I'm not making it seem like CoD's the only game that has that effect. Other new games are going to have that effect for it not only just being the new thing, but I think CoD has more weight to it because of the features that are in it. When people really start paying attention and looking at the differences, you can clearly see that it is night and day, in my opinion. And to your point, that for me is what makes it so enjoyable. Because honestly, I haven't played my SS1-1 account since like a third of the way into server 2. So I know you were saying like 60%, but it's 0%. Like I don't play the account at all. But
they're being, modest, being quite nice as a gentleman, being a true British.
No, I appreciate you. And the thing is, I made a video talking about why I don't play the account. But to your point, which I think is more of the root of it, is that it is, man. It's just so enjoyable to watch, and I love being able to not only go into other kingdoms and look at what they're doing. I like being able to show that off to the community. Any of the PvP fights, how kingdoms are building, what the state of affairs is. I'll be honest, man, if they ever came out with some type of Arco of Cyrus thing, and they were looking for a commentator, dude, I would commentate the shiitake mushrooms out of that. I just love watching the PvP, and it doesn't matter to me what skill level an alliance is at, how organized or coordinated they are. I think everyone has opportunities, and for me to be able to kind of showcase and talk about, what the different levels of that can be. Because man, we're just scratching the surface right now on the level and the level of coordination and strategic play on the PvP side for alliance versus alliances. I mean, we're at an infantile stage right now. I mean, we can go so much deeper and be so much more than where we're at right now. And so I just, on my last side note, I just love having the opportunity to talk about that. Because I think that potential is what, to me, is the most exciting.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. Like, it is one, because, like, I don't think you'll mind me saying it. It's like Ninja, like, the lead of POS. Like, even he said, like, he doesn't even play ROK anymore. He's like, he booted it up. I don't even know when. He said he booted it up maybe a week ago, let's say, hypothetically. Like, he booted it up recently, let's say. But when he booted it up, he was like, bro, this game just feels so clunky now.
Like 2D versus 3D.
Yeah, like it's like even like I could imagine like when you were saying and you was like comparing games and stuff. I kind of was looking at it. It was like, yeah, maybe Rock is almost like the old school Total War Rome games where it was just more like a simulation that you watched, and then like now you're looking at this game more of like the Age of Empires, Civilization, and Command and Conquer, where like those units that said they are range units, well, they have range now. You can actually see that have a range. It's not just side by side hypothetical walls that's like
Some like behind the scenes stat that you can only see on the report.
Which is like what Rock is doing. It's like you're not seeing that. It's like an actual RTS game. So like I think when people start playing it, they can't believe like how good it is. The one thing which I know always, which is always the like, I think I'd say always like the con, or like I don't call it the con, but it's like the one thing that everyone worries is always the season reset, right? Because they like, bro, all my heroes disappear, and it's like all my artifacts disappear, and it's like, well, no, man, because you've got to remember the season 1 you've just played, all the tech you've got. When you go into season 2, at level 1, you're already 1,000 times stronger because of all the tech you have already, you know, leveled up from season 1. So it's just like the process to leveling just exponentially just like gets cut down the longer you play. It's so crazy like how well each of the systems technically complement each other. That's like the way I think most people are kind of shocked, like just how much things complement each other so well compared to like Rock. And it's just like, guys, it's just like the basic thing in Rock. Gathering commanders need XP books, dude. Gathering commanders gain XP for gathering in Call of Dragons, for goddamn sake. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like simple things like that. It's just like something that you would expect on a base level to just be in the game. It just isn't. And because it isn't there, it's actually a problem. Like, it's just like, why? Why is this not there? Like, it makes no sense. And the thing is, like, it's even worse because people can go, oh yeah, but it's not much of an issue because you have like, you know, your commanders and stuff. It's like, well, the XP books you've used on all those blue gathering commanders and stuff to gather those resources, you would have been using on your heroes to fight with. And that's the problem that Call of Dragons solved. It was so clever. It was just like, well, why are we not letting them gather? And why are we not letting them have XP? So...
Yeah. No, 100%. And yeah, if you hear me choking, my lady was like just wafting some sage around here, and I'm anyways. So, I'm with you on that. I actually like the idea. I actually also like, and I don't know if this is in Rock. It could be, and maybe it's just something I never actually tested. But I like the fact that you can stack talents. Right, that to me is something.
You can in Rock.
Oh, you can. Okay, cool. So see, bam, there you go. And you know, and again, I never really, and it just kind of shows you, right, for myself. You know, I never really went too deep in to looking at like the PvP type stuff as far as how all the intricacies in Rock more so than I have done in CoD. Like to CoD, you know, I love doing the research. I love asking questions, especially from the top players and the people that do a lot of PvP. So for me, even just on something like that. Again, absolutely love, and I think, you know, to your point, I think when it comes to what we're seeing now in the COD space, it's almost as though all you have to do is just put COD in front of someone and tell them, well, hey, this game has true range play. It's got skill activation on the field, which I think is genius, and then it has flying units that can go over terrain. I mean, even you could sell them on those 3 things, and or, you know, on-field buildable and destroyable support structures, and it's like, bam, you got 3 or 4 features that are just
and
cut
to
above.
sell it even more, you could be like, bro, how would you not want to control your alliance, right? And you're in war right now, and you think you're on the back foot, and next minute, boom, you drop your flame dragon.
Yeah,
like,
you're Behemoth. Yeah, good point.
What? Bro, you get to drop a flame dragon. And you know what? If they drop a flame dragon, you get a Hydra, and you get this Thunder Rock.
A Hydra? Does it have 3 heads? Yes, it does.
Yes, it does. Like, it's so crazy when you just like hear it. And the funny thing is when you see the like I have a couple of videos out on it, and it's like you get to see both extremes of behemoths, which I don't know if you've noticed yet. So like when you see behemoths summoned on the open field, there's either one of two responses. It's either oh shit, run, and literally everyone bolts, and it is so fast. Like everyone is terrified because like this behemoth will just zero your march. Like it's so brutal. Or you literally have maybe like 200 marchers there that just look at this thing and just goes, do you know what? Not today. And you
Not
just see
today.
this thing melt within like 10 seconds. And it's either one or the other. Like, it's so good.
Yeah, and you know, it's interesting to me because you know, when I'm watching the behemoths themselves be played on the field, it sometimes I'll see them just going back to back to back, and you know, they're getting thrown down. Like they'll let one go, let the other go, and even just with the behemoth play, to me, first off, I love it without a doubt. And part of me is, you know, when I'm watching the PvP play out, oftentimes, you know, I'll see behemoths that are thrown down just for the sake of being thrown down, and they're not, you know, sometimes I don't necessarily see groups that are staging themselves where they're trying to take advantage of when the behemoth is thrown down, or even just in a situation where, you know what, maybe we should throw this now to kind of discombobulate and distract our opponents, so then we have an opportunity to restage and regather ourselves. And I think that's the next level of it as well, is looking at that type of tactical play on when and where to use behemoths. But also, part of me feels as though they should allow you to drop behemoths. I mean, to me, I almost feel like you should be able to drop it in maybe in a few more places. Like, because really it's just limited right now to you either attacking or defending a structure.
Yeah. To add to like the tactical thing, and then I'm going to add to that before like hopefully finishing up. The thing with the tactical play, I can't wait to see. But the thing is, which is one thing that I know a lot of people might hate me for saying, but I've always said it in one of my videos already. But like Forbidden actually showed really clever tactical prowess against behemoths, but not because of like when you look at like TA, right? You looked at TA and POS when a behemoth spawned, they either ran generally or like they just melted it. But it was Forbidden generally that was one of the first alliances that were purposely sending some guy with tier 3 cavalry with with the haunted mask or something. Everyone knows the blue mask, right? It's the taunt mask of raids, right? And they would purposely use this one guy to go and taunt the Hydra or the Behemoth, get its aggro, get its attention, and just pull it away. And I have so many. I have a video recently on like the whole war that's happened, and there was a really great example of this, like to check out, where like this guy literally the POS drop a Hydra, and you think, oh god, like it's over for Forbidden because Forbidden are literally going to get melted by this Hydra, and then from nowhere, this one guy just appears, grabs aggro, and pulls the Hydra like 300 kilometers east. Like it's not even near him, and as he's pulling them away, you just see next minute like 50 Forbidden marchers just appear out of all these cities ready, and they just go. Because obviously POS weren't ready for it. You could look at the map and you could literally see like POS were confident that, you know, the Hydra was going to defend the zone. And you had a few marchers there just to add a little bit more, but everyone else was building, right? So you could see like kind of how the Alliance was kind of like, you know, positioning themselves and stuff. But yeah, like for tactics, like it's crazy how we've not seen as much yet, but you're starting to see like I think like some of the pioneering of what you can actually do to like combat them, which is really good. Like I think that's just absolutely like incredible to watch. Like that when I like I say when I first saw that, I was like gobsmacked. And the thing is, like now you see it as almost like I won't say like a common practice, but I know in the top 5 alliances in all the servers, they have the capability to do it now.
Yeah.
So like it was one thing, and I know like people in POS like and Ninja was saying it himself. He was like, bro, these guys like getting my bear and pulling it away is so goddamn annoying. Like, because it is. It's like, bro, it's so annoying. It's like, bro, they counterplay you in such a clever way,
Yeah.
and it's a mechanic that the game allows,
Yeah.
and it's just like, I love to see where it goes basically in the future. Like you were saying, it's just like this is just one feature that I'd like to just add in, because I know, like you say, we haven't seen much, but this was like one feature that I've noticed, and I don't know who's done it first. I just noticed Forbidden do it the most,
Yeah.
and they like successfully do it the most. That's the best way of putting it. Like, you see a lot of alliances do it, but like Forbidden do it with the most success.
What would be sick is if you combine like Harlequin. So it's the Harlequin mask or Harley Quinn mask,
Yeah.
and it's level 5 taunt. So it casts on a target Legion, Darkling creature, or Behemoth, and it attracts the target's Legion's hostility and forces it to attack that commanded Legion for 5 seconds, and that's even at max attribute. So. Yeah. I wonder if you could pair it with something like Harlequin mask, and then that ring. Oh, God, what's the ring? It's the one that teleports. It's one of the new. I'm forgetting, but it's the one that teleports you to anywhere in the region. Yeah, I wonder if it would do that. Like it would, if it would teleport with it. God, I'm forgetting which one it is. But yeah,
that'd be so funny. Like, you grab aggro as you zip away, so that it just pulls to your coordinates for 5 seconds away, right? That'd be so funny. I wonder if that actually works.
Or even if you just threw, like like a March speed artifact on that unit, on like if it's like T2, T3, whatever level cav, and like something like haste, right? Like a spring bird feather, you can throw haste on it, and it says grants haste right to your legion and up to 10 surrounding friendly legions, increasing your legion's March speed by 48%. And then friendlies by 32% for 10 seconds. So, I mean, even something like that could be used. I mean, obviously, I think there's a lot of other options that you could do. It was just something that I just thought was curious. And maybe they are. Maybe they are pairing it that way or in other ways. But, yeah, no, I love your point on that, because, honestly, until you just said that, even though I've also seen that happen, just thinking, right? And, again, that's why I think it's important to read everything. Right, read all of the artifact skills. Read all of the hero skills.
Surprised.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised. Like, even in my tier list now, and it's still to this day, in the tier list, like, that blue mask is literally always probably going to be A tier, because it's the fact that, like, it's a blue mask that you're going to get maxed out within not even a week of playing.
Yeah,
and the fact that it allows you to be a raid leader in a raid, and the fact that now it's like such an insane tool to counter raid, like Behemoths on open field. It's just like, it just solidifies like how strong this thing actually is, and it's a blue artifact. Like, it doesn't do damage. It doesn't do anything. It's powerful because of the utility it brought to like the open field. So like, yeah, I love to see what goes on. It's like. It's kind of like we could kind of wish we had like I keep saying on chat, I wish we had like John Wick still, just so, because I remember John Wick on Rock with all those crazy videos. He would test everything for us, so we would know.
Oh yeah, well, and this is the thing, man. Honestly, that's one of my only limitations right now, just because I'm not playing a main account. If I was going hard and still playing my main account, that's that's the other type of content I'd love to put out. Those types of tests, because then I'd actually be able to add another piece of content. Once global comes, I'll definitely start doing that. But it's just, like, for me, that's one of the areas I'm limited. Because I remember John Wick, and there's this other guy as well that does stuff on Rock where he does, like, he'll take, like, 10,000 or 100,000 units and then he'll pair it, and then he'll have someone else run 100,000 of the same, and they'll run, like, mirror testing, and then they'll run, like, hey, I'll just go all attack damage, or this person will go all skill damage, and then they'll test it out to kind of show you what the numbers are. I mean, I love that kind of stuff, and those are the kind of things that I'm hoping, I can do with some content later on, just whenever global comes out, and I'm sure some people will probably do it before, but that kind of stuff I think is great, because to me, I think that kind of stuff needs to be a little bit more publicized, for the mass, for just the mass kind of populace that is the community. So that way they're more informed, instead of a lot of those things kind of almost being, oh, well, it's all kind of group or isolated. The information is in that way because like it's almost more privatized because people test it and they don't want to share it, kind of a thing. So.
Definitely. No, I agree with you there. Definitely, man.
All right, man, we're almost at an hour, 5 minutes. So, I think kind of playing it off of what you said earlier, I think we're kind of coming to a close here. So before I go ahead and, do my part, Sneaky, I'm going to pass it off to you. Final thoughts. And then again, man, where can the CoD fam find you?
Yeah, man, no worries. Yeah, it's been a great time like always. Everyone knows that. Everyone can find me obviously at MrSneaky on YouTube. My Twitter is also MrSneaky94. I don't have a Discord yet, but as you know and a few others know, it is in the making. So I know a lot of people in the community have been waiting for that. So throw that one out there for everyone to get excited about. But yeah, no, everything's good. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode from me. Yeah, pass back to yourself.
Yeah, man. Honestly, I think the best episode so far. I feel as though as each episode comes out, or better yet, when we record, almost feels as though we're slowly but surely getting more into it, just more engaged and enjoying.
Yeah, I think we're just becoming more in sync.
Yeah. No, for sure. And so, yeah, I've definitely been enjoying it. I remember when you initially reached out to me and asked me about the idea of it. I think at first I was a little 50-50, but now after, doing now our third episode, it's been an absolute blast. And so, again, for myself, right, you guys can find me, at Boss NASTi on YouTube, which is just YouTube/@ the little @ sign. Same thing for Sneaky. And then mine is just my name, except one word. And yeah, again, that's pretty much it for me. I'll make sure that in this video, I'll have links to Sneaky's information, places where you can find him. That'll be in the pinned comment and the description, along with where you guys can find me. And yeah, man, that is it for us here on the third episode of the CoD Pod. Again, with my boy, Sneaky. We hope you guys enjoyed. And remember, as well, if you ever want to be a part of our live show, because we do these live, and you're more, at least for the time being, until we maybe do it somewhere else. Maybe if we're able to get something in on the official CoD Discord, that would be even doper if something might happen there. Something, we're maybe slowly working on if able to come around. We'll have to see. But at least for now, you guys can always join my Discord, and really it's not a set time. It's just whenever we're free. So it's almost kind of a nice, I don't know if I want to say a cult following type of thing, but it's almost like you just have to be there and be on, and then there's the opportunity for that. So, all right. That is it for me, officially. Again, man, hope you guys enjoy this episode. I know we did. And as always, until next time, we will catch you guys later.